Looking back now, I never imagined I'd become that woman. The one scrolling through old Facebook messages at 2 in the morning while her husband sleeps beside her, snoring softly and smelling faintly of motor oil. But here's the thing about marriage. One day, you wake up and realize you're sharing your life with a stranger. A man who leaves his socks in the hallway, calls microwaved pasta a home-cooked meal, and thinks silence counts as conversation. My name's Lena, I'm 31, and 3 years ago I thought I was marrying my forever person. Back then, Ryan seemed like everything I'd ever wanted. A steady job at the steel plant, a goofy smile, and a way of making me laugh when life felt heavy. But people change, or maybe they just stop trying. These days, Ryan comes home coated in dust, grunts a tired "hey," and plants himself on the couch to scroll through game highlights. When I talk about my day, or anything deeper than dinner plans, his eyes glaze over like I'm speaking another language, and that's when Evan messaged me. Evan Carter, my college boyfriend, the boy who used to write me terrible poetry, drag me through art galleries, and kiss me in the rain like we were the only 2 people on Earth. His profile picture showed him in a navy suit, standing in front of a tall glass building in Atlanta, confident, successful, glowing in a way Ryan hadn't in years. "Lena, is that really you? You look incredible." Such a simple message, but my heart raced, faster than it had in months. We started chatting about old times, about professors we'd hated, places we'd dreamed of going, and that one spring break trip to Charleston where we'd watched the sunrise from the beach. Evan remembered everything. He remembered me, my obsession with old books, my dream of visiting Italy, the little scar on my hand from when we cooked together and I burned it making caramel. The conversations moved from Facebook to texting, then to late-night phone calls while Ryan snored on the couch. Evan told me about his life, his consulting work, his constant travel, his downtown apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows. He asked about my dreams, my goals, my happiness, things Ryan never thought to ask anymore. "You were always too smart, too beautiful for small-town life," Evan wrote one evening. "I can't believe you settled." That word, settled, stuck like glass in my throat. Because deep down, I knew it was true. I had settled. For routine, for predictability, for the kind of love that felt more like maintenance than magic. Evan, on the other hand, saw me, or at least he made me feel like he did. He told me I deserved excitement, passion, a partner who challenged me. I began paying more attention to Ryan. His messy hair, his grease-stained hands, the dull way he said my name. And when Evan sent me pictures from business dinners, him in crisp shirts, sipping wine under golden light, the contrast was painful. "Remember how we used to be?" Evan asked one night. "The chemistry, the spark?" And I did. God, I did. I started dressing better, joined a gym, got my hair done. Ryan barely noticed, but Evan did. He noticed everything. When he told me I looked stunning in my new profile photo, I smiled like a teenager again. The guilt crept in, sure, but it wasn't enough to stop me. I told Ryan I was meeting an old friend when I met Evan for coffee. Technically, that wasn't a lie. He looked even better in person. Sharp suit, warm smile, eyes that studied me like they were remembering every curve, every expression. We talked for 3 hours, about life, about dreams, about everything Ryan had long stopped being curious about. Evan laughed at my jokes, leaned in when I spoke, and made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in years. "Your husband's a lucky man," he said when we stood to leave, but the tone in his voice told me he didn't believe it. Coffee became lunch. Lunch became long walks downtown, hand brushing hand, hearts racing like old times. Meanwhile, Ryan stayed oblivious, or maybe indifferent. When I came home glowing from my afternoons with Evan, he'd grunt a hello and ask what was for dinner. "We never talk anymore," I told him once. "We're talking now," he said, eyes on the TV. That was the moment I realized he wasn't even trying. Evan, though? He listened. Every story, every word. He made me feel interesting again. Desired. It started as emotional cheating. It didn't stay that way. The first time it happened, it was after lunch. The city lights were soft through Evan's apartment window, the air humming with tension that neither of us could ignore anymore. It was wrong, and I knew it, but when he touched me, I didn't care. Afterward, I drove home shaking, crying quietly in the car. But that night, when Ryan reached for me in bed, I turned away. The distance between us grew into a canyon. I kept lying, to him, to myself. Then one night, Ryan came home early. I was in the kitchen texting Evan, smiling at a message about our next business lunch, when I heard Ryan's voice. Flat, cold. "We need to talk." He set his keys down hard. My stomach dropped. He'd seen the messages. Not the explicit ones, there weren't any, but enough to know. "Who's Evan?" "He's just a friend." "Friends don't text at 2 a.m. about missing each other," I snapped. "You went through my private messages? Seriously?" He stayed calm. Too calm. "You haven't touched me in weeks. You pull away when I kiss you. You think I wouldn't notice?" Something inside me broke. Maybe it was guilt, maybe anger, but I said the cruelest thing I've ever said. "You want the truth? Evan was my boyfriend before you, and he was better in bed than you'll ever be." The words echoed like thunder. Ryan didn't shout. He didn't cry. He just nodded. "Okay," he said, quietly. "You just told me everything I needed to know." He packed his things in silence. I begged. I apologized. I twisted the story. But he was done. "You told me who you really are, Lena," he said before walking out. "I'm just finally listening." He left, and didn't come back. At first, I told myself it was fine. Now I could be with Evan freely. But when I told Evan what happened, his tone changed. "Wow, that's a lot. Maybe you should take time to process before jumping into something new." It was like ice water poured over me. The man who'd said I deserved more was now pulling away. Within a week, his calls slowed. Within a month, he stopped replying. By the second month, he'd blocked me, and that's when I found out I was pregnant. It had to be Evan's. Ryan and I hadn't been together for months. When I told Evan, he went silent. Then he said, "Are you sure it's mine?" And just like that, every illusion shattered. "You encouraged me to leave my husband." "I never told you to," he replied coldly. "I just listened." He disappeared completely after that. New number, new life, gone. Ryan filed for divorce almost immediately. His lawyer handled everything. Fast, clean, distant. Within weeks, he was out of my life for good. The apartment felt hollow. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was punishment. Months passed. I saw Ryan by chance at the grocery store. He looked different, happier. He was with a woman named Harper, pretty, kind-looking, the kind of person who made you feel calm just standing near her. "Hi, Lena," he said politely. "You look well." "Thanks," I murmured, hand on my pregnant belly. Harper smiled at me kindly before walking away. "She's great," Ryan said softly. "We've been together a few months." And just like that, I realized he'd moved on. He'd healed. While I was standing there, carrying another man's child, wishing I could undo everything. I gave birth to a beautiful baby boy weeks later, alone. Evan never reached out. Not once. My parents helped when they could, but they were disappointed. I couldn't blame them. A year later, I saw Ryan's engagement photos online. He and Harper looked radiant, peaceful. He had become the man I always wanted him to be, just not for me. And as I sat in my tiny apartment, holding my son while scrolling through those pictures, I finally understood. I had traded loyalty for excitement, stability for fantasy, a good man for a hollow dream. Ryan wasn't perfect, but he was real. And I threw that away because I wanted fireworks that never lasted. Now he's happy, loved, and building a life that could have been ours. And I'm here, living the consequences of my own choices. I thought I was chasing freedom, but all I did was destroy the one person who truly loved me, and lose myself in the process.